off. This is their 10th Women in Tech event, so they are no stranger to this crowd, this stage. She worked as the program director for Women in Tech for many years, and she is now a futurist, investor, and public speaker. So I would love for you to give a big round of applause to Paulina Modlitba.
High five. So I have a little gift here. I'm going to put it here during my talk. If I forget about it, at the end of this talk, remind me. Just scream something, something gift, and I'll let you know what it's all about. Hi. So I named my talk, We Need New Stories About AI. But as all stories, there's a sub-story. Let's see if this works. Yes. Nobody puts baby in a sewer. It doesn't make sense to you now. It will eventually. But it's important to realize that stories are not the same thing for all of us. It depends it's all about where we come from, what we want to hear, what we want to see, etc. So we need new stories about AI, but also nobody puts baby in a sewer. I'll come back to that. But as everyone else, almost here today, I will start my story with a personal story. The photo you can see here is a photo of me and my dad in his hometown, Vienna, some 40 years ago. I think I was 5 or 6. I'm 43 now, so about 40 years ago. I grew up surrounded by stories. Stories about the past, about the present, about the future, about who I could become and what I could be. And my favorite activity was taking long walks with my dad. We talked about everything, about the state of things, about mathematics, physics, politics. I was interested in everything. Oh. I was also interested in figuring out what I could be and who I was. And I pretty quickly realized that I have 3 role models in life. One is MacGyver. Holla if you know him. Yes. The other one, Inspector Gadget. Only dudes so far, but we'll get to the women as well, don't worry. I just love their way of finding the most peculiar, fun ways, creative ways of getting themselves out of weird situations, and I wanted to be able to do that too. And yes, that's me in the picture as well. So what I did as a really weird 5, 6-year-old was I picked up trash on the ground and I built gadgets out of them because I wanted to become an innovator too. And I wrote and painted these really weird technical instructions for how to use them that nobody could understand and nobody ever read, not even my parents. I think I was trying to solve the energy crisis here some 30 years too early. But I also had, and this is where the women enter this story, I also had April O'Neil as my role model. How many of you know her? Yes. So she is the companion and close friends of the Mutant Ninja Turtles. To me, when I was watching the series back in 1987, she was mainly a journalist. And I admired her for that, and I wanted to write too. But what I just recently realized when reading about April again, and it's so nice how the full circles in life, you never know when they happen. I realized that in the original series, she was actually the assistant of a researcher who built robots that were used for pest control in New York. And when she realized that he was actually using these robots for a bank robbery and confronted him, he used the robots to chase her down the sewers. And that's where she met the Ninja Turtles, and the rest is history. So this is really the sort of sub-story that I started out with, but it's really the main story that I'm coming to. And eventually, many years later, I fell in love professionally with a real-life April O'Neil. This is Professor Cynthia Brazil. She ran and still runs the Searchable Robot Group at MIT Media Lab. She was the first researcher to make me realize that technology can be used for enhancing society, but also human relationships. And so what I did was, eventually, when I studied at KTH and was figuring out my future, I sent a couple of emails to professors at the Media Lab, and I said, hey, I want to program robots too. Can I join your team? That's really not how it works, but I actually got one response. Unfortunately, not from Cynthia Brazil, but I got a response from a professor who ran a group who did research on, wait for it, animatronic monkeys and squirrels. And he and his team was trying to figure out if they could be used to sort of support remote communication and make it more intuitive and fun. And as weird as animatronic monkeys may seem, there was actually one team or one group of people at MIT back then that were considered even more weird, but in a completely different way. This is a private photo from the Christmas party at MIT Media Lab back in 2005. This is Marvin Minsky playing piano. He's one of the big thinkers when it comes to AI, but in 2005, we were in the midst of an complete AI winter. And the idea of actually creating machine intelligence was close to impossible. Little did we know that 20 years later, we would be in a complete AI summer. We're in an AI craze. We're being thrown between these extreme stories about overly positive stories about AI, and then cripplingly dystopic stories about AI. And we have all these AI godfathers telling us about the looming dangers of AI. Marvin Minsky died in 2016, so he never got to experience this. We even have AI godfathers warning us about other AI godfathers warning. So it's basically what we have here is this human centipede of men warning us about each other and about AI. And so that's the sort of craze that we're in. And it's not easy to navigate. So how do we navigate this? From my perspective, the way I tend to navigate this is to read great articles, listen to wise people. One of them being Katrin Kelos-Marsal, this amazing Swedish author and journalist. And she wrote this article about the fact that stories are, of course, just a reflection of the context and the systems that they're being told in. So the patriarchal imagination has an inbuilt fear of technology because it views technology as inherently violent, of course. So we fear, or mostly men fear, that the machines will do to us what we have already done to others. So what is the patriarchy actually doing then? What are they using the wonders of AI for? Well, for once, they seem to have this really weird, almost imbecile interest in nakedness. They want everything and everyone to be naked, so they create these nudify apps. You can upload any photo and then get the person naked. Don't you dare use it on me right now, standing here on stage. Although it is a great way of getting over imposter syndrome, so I can use it on you, but I'll wait. Well, so they want to see everyone and everything naked except themselves. So this is the FAQ for one of these nudify apps. Unfortunately, the model hasn't been trained on male data, male bodies. You can only undress women. So this is basically the only known male data gap so far. Yes. And I should credit the wonderful Caroline Perez, also an author, for this example. She has a wonderful newsletter that I'm crediting here that you should check out, sort of highlighting data gaps. But so what we're basically doing here is we're building this huge digital twin of a system, a society, a humanity that is inherently broken. And not only does it reinforce everything that we're doing and all our fuck-ups, it's amplifying them. And even more so, the biggest problem here is that as these AI models are becoming increasingly complex, it's becoming so much harder for us to even understand what they're doing. And how can we as humans be held accountable and take responsibility for a technology that we built but can't understand? That's a huge problem. And again, my way of navigating this and finding comfort whenever I'm worried is making sure, as a girl, picking up trash from the ground and building my own stuff, I always comfort myself by making sure that I am part of the future that is happening out there. I'm getting my hands dirty, I start building, I start testing, and again, this fictional character, Cameron Howe, from the series *Halt and Catch Fire*, if you haven't seen it, she's amazing. I remind myself of the fact that the future is just another crappy version of the present. It's some bribe that people offer you to make you do what they want instead of what you want. Again, it's all about stories. It's all about agendas. So quickly, what is my agenda? Standing here, this is a stage of power, of privilege. So what do I want to use it for? Well, some of the AI stories that I want to tell is this one, for example. Tech guru Omar Karim. He didn't really have the mother he wanted, and he is now estranged from her. He decided to train an AI bot so he could have some sort of relationship with his mom. And then in the middle of it, he realized, I actually created a copy of the mom I never really liked. I can actually now create the mom I wanted to have. So he started reading up on literature and parenting and, what actually makes a great parent. And he retrained the bot. And now he has this bot that actually works as therapy in late in life. At the age of 40, he's actually sort of healing again. And for those of you who haven't gotten to know your ex, here's an app for you. Chat with the ex that you don't have contact with yet. I also want to see AI stories about how memories that haven't been documented or have been lost can be recreated. I want AI stories about how AI can help the blind see again by using natural language and image processing for explaining the world. I want to see AI being used for analyzing data on how boys versus girls use playgrounds and understanding that the ways boys use it all over the place and then girls using the sides says absolutely everything about everything in life and the way that we relate to each other, even later in life. I want to tell AI stories about how I finally started programming again after 10 years in a language that I didn't know previously, because it's so easy with ChatGPT nowadays. But first and foremost, I also want to tell AI stories. Oops, one more click. I want everyone's AI stories to be equally valid and heard, even the fun and quirky ones, like this one. Thank you. And you can come up. I know I ran over time.
I can come up on stage.
Yes. So I have a newsletter, a bi-weekly newsletter with trends and new AI cases and stuff. And I'm going to hand this to so sign up if you want to, and you can actually pay for it if you want to support an entrepreneur. And I'm going to pick one of those of you who become paying subscribers and send this to you as a sort of gift of love, basically. Yeah. And a reminder, find your inner April out of the sewers. Thank you.
Woo, thank you.